I'm Michaela.
Hi, I'm Alyssa.
Hi, I'm Kelsey, and this is Crash Course.
Selective service in the GI. After Pearl Harbor, eager young Americans jammed recruiting offices. Even the 5 million who volunteered for military service were not enough to face the challenge of an all-out war on two global fronts, Europe and Pacific. Selective service system expanded the draft and eventually provided another 10 million soldiers to meet the armed forces' needs. Volunteers and draftees reported to military bases around the country for 8 weeks. Seasoned sergeants did their best to turn raw recruits into disciplined, battle-ready GIs. There was a lot more to basic training than just teaching a recruit how to stand at attention, march in step, handle a rifle, and follow orders. Expanding the military, workforce needed much more help. So, Army Chief, oh, what's this?
Oh look, it's a selfie of George Marshall himself.
Expanding the military, workforce needed much more help. So, Army Chief of Staff General George Marshall formed the WAAC, which is the Women's Auxiliary Army Corps. There were too many jobs that were being done by soldiers that could have been done better by women. They would help with the non-combat positions. Some considered this bill as the silliest piece of legislation they had ever seen. The bill establishing the WAACs became a law on May 5, 1942. This law gave the WAACs an official status and salary, but few of the benefits granted the male soldiers. In July of 1943, after thousands of women had enlisted, the U.S. dropped the auxiliary status and granted WAACs full Army benefits. They worked as nurses, ambulance drivers, radio operators, electricians, and pilots, which was almost every job that did not include combat. Recruiting and discrimination. For many minority groups, like African and Americans, Native Americans, did you hear that? I came from World War II. Know what a minority group is? They're racially segregated neighborhoods and reservations. Other minority groups are the Mexican Americans and Asian Americans. These groups were also denied basic citizenship rights, and some members of these groups questioned whether this was their war to fight or not. Thanks, me from the past.
Dramatic contributions. Even though there is discrimination in the military, more than 300,000 Mexican Americans joined the armed forces. They weren't the only ones to join. About 1 million African Americans also served in the military. They lived and worked in segregated units and were not able to do combat roles until April 1943. Asian Americans also took part in the war. More than 13,000 Chinese males joined the armed forces as well. 33,000 Japanese Americans also went into battle. 7,000 of these men volunteered to work as spies and interpreters during the Pacific War. During battles, they would crawl close enough to hear Japanese officers' commands so they could. 120,000 Japanese Americans were placed in 10 U.S. Army guarded camps located in America's wasteland, and not only were they translators, they were interrogators, communication interceptors, and infantrymen. Converting to war production. While this is happening, shipyards and defense plants grew. By the end of 1942, a man named Henry J. Kaiser built 7 huge shipyards that created cargo carriers, tankers, troop transport, and baby aircraft carriers at a high speed. Labor's contribution. When the war began, defense contractors warned the selective service system that the nation did not have enough workers to meet both its military and its industrial needs. They ended up being wrong. By 1944, nearly 18 million workers were working in war industries. More than 6 million of these new workers were women. Workers feared this at first because they thought women might lack an effort and stamina. Women quickly proved they could operate heavy machinery such as welding torches or riveting guns. Employers couldn't hire enough of them, especially since women earned only 60% as much as men. Not only did they about 2 million minority workers, they faced strong prejudice at first for it. 75% of defense contractors wouldn't even hire African Americans. Only 15% employed them in menial jobs, such as janitors. They claimed it was the company policy. A man named A. Philip Randolph organized a march on Washington. He was the nation's most respected African American labor leader. The March to End Discrimination for Jobs was supposed to be on July 1st, 1941. President Roosevelt asked him to back down, but he denied him. He planned on bringing 100,000 people. Roosevelt ended up backing down. Randolph promised not to have the march if Roosevelt issued an executive order calling on employers and labor unions to provide for the full and equitable participation of all workers without discrimination because of race, color, or national origin.
Mobilizations of scientists. In 1941, Roosevelt created the Office of Scientific Research and Development to bring scientists into the war effort. The Office of Scientific Research and Development created the secret development of a new weapon, the atomic bomb. The interest in the atomic bomb began in 1939 after some German scientists succeeded in splitting uranium atoms, releasing a huge amount of energy. The news prompted physicists and the German refuge Albert Einstein to write a letter to President Roosevelt, warning that the Germans could use their creation to construct a weapon of enormous destruction power. Economic controls. Roosevelt responded to the threat by creating the Office of Price Administration. They fought inflation by freezing wages, prices, and also rents. The Congress also raised income tax rates and extended the tax to millions of people who had never paid it before. The government encouraged Americans to use their extra cash to buy war bonds. Inflation remained below 30%, about half that of World War I. For the entire percent, about half that of World War I for the entire period of World War II. The War Production Board, known as WPR, assumed their responsibility. The WPR decided which companies would convert from peacetime to wartime production and allocated raw materials to key industries. Rationing. Rationing was a restriction of people's rights to buy unlimited amounts of particular foods and other goods, often implemented during wartime to ensure adequate supplies for the military.
WAAC stands for Women's Auxiliary Army Corps. The GI stands for Galvanized Iron, but was later interpreted as a government issue. The OPA stands for the Office of Price Administration.